Perfect. And there we go, because just in case some of you have to check out early from the webinar, I want to have a recording of this to send to you later. Okay, so I'm in a good mood today. It's Saturday. You're going to get a much more lively presentation probably than Thursday night viewers. If you're viewing this twice, then you may get something a little bit different. So I'm in a pretty good mood today. So I'm going to be asking for feedback throughout the webinar when I talk about products and things like that. There's a little tabbed area in your dashboard called questions. I want you to just open that up really quick. You just hit the little tab, and we're already getting people, wow, we're already getting tons of people submitting in questions. You seeing those questions?
Rolling in.
Okay, cool, perfect. So just submit those questions. Unfortunately, if you're having any technical issues throughout the webinar, there's not a lot I can do for you at this point. I really apologize, but I am recording it, and I will be happy to send it to you after the fact. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is share my screen with you. So I'm going to share my screen. And we should see my screen on the line there. Going to take me off video, and we'll come back to video in just 1 second here. Oh, everything looking okay?
Yep, just need to close it out.
All right, perfect. So we'll come back to live video when we get to the meat of the presentation here, but for now I just want to kind of go through a couple of slides until we get there. So most of you, a lot of you know who I am. You've either trained with me, you've purchased a book from me, you've seen me on a TV show, however you've heard about me, I appreciate you showing up. But there are also hundreds of people who do not know who I am, who are watching the webinar today. So I wanted to quickly, for those people, just go through a little bit about my background, a little bit about my story, just a couple minutes worth, nothing that's going to take up too much time, just so that the people who don't know me know that the information I'm providing and sharing today is coming from at least a somewhat credible source. You know, this is, you know, I'm going to say to you what my dad always said to me: you get what you pay for. So hopefully you'll find this worth something and of value, but I promise if you don't like it, I'll give you a 100% refund. How's that sound? Now somebody's saying, Martha, are we paying for this webinar? No, you are not paying for this webinar. It's 100% free. So the title is 12 Things You Didn't Know You Needed in Your Bug Out Bag, presented by me, Creek Stewart. Now before we begin, I need your commitment on something. In that questions box, I want a little bit of feedback from you right now. I've spent a lot of time this past week developing this webinar and working on this free webinar, so I want you to stay to the end of the webinar if you at all possibly can. So if you would, go ahead and type in that questions box. Go ahead and just say, yes, I'm here. I'm here. I'm giving you my all for the next 60 minutes because that's what I'm doing. I'm going to give you everything I've got for the next 60 minutes. So hopefully you'll commit with me here and
yeah, we got a whole lot of yeses, several of which have multiple exclamation points.
Okay, perfect. So we're getting there. For those of you who do not know me, I make it no secret that my mission in life is to teach life-saving survival skills to as many people as possible, and I make no bones about that. I'm pretty open with that. And for those of you who know me and who've trained with me, you know that my passion is teaching survival skills. And so just out of curiosity, I know we've gotten a lot of feedback, a lot of advanced questions, but I want to know why you're here today. I would love to hear just some answers as to why you're here. Just put those in that questions box and just submit them. Tell me what you're thinking, why you're here. This will help me kind of tailor this presentation a little bit as best as I can. Are you seeing anything at all? Those are for later. You seeing anything at all in the questions box right now?
Yeah, man, they're coming in so fast I can barely read them.
Okay. Well, just kind of jot some down over the course of the next couple of minutes, and we'll try to address some of those as best as we can over the course of our 60 minutes.
Wait, here we go. We got some people, it looks like, who are wanting to know about, you know, cutting weight in your bag.
Yeah.
Somebody says they loved you on Fat Guys in the Woods and they can't wait for SOS How to Survive.
Yeah, well, that's good. Well, we're definitely going to be talking a little bit about cutting weight, but one thing I learned in this last webinar on Thursday was that there were way more questions than I could ever possibly answer and present 12 things you didn't know you needed in your bug out bag. So I'm going to do something a little special over the course of the next month and a half or so. I'm going to do another free webinar, but it's going to be a series. It's going to be a 5 or 6 part series where I cover each category of a bug out bag. It's going to be called the ABCs of BOBs, and it's going to be a free webinar series where I personally delve into each category and we break it down: shelter, water, fire, food, tools, and hygiene. We're going to break it all down. So a lot of you heard about me from the book I wrote 5 years ago called Build the Perfect Bug Out Bag, and it's been a bestseller for years, but a lot has changed in my own personal bug out bag over the years, and that is kind of the topic of this presentation today. Is I want to share with you just some ideas, some changes, kind of get your creative juices flowing as you're talking about bug out bags. But my story, in a nutshell, is pretty simple. I've always been enamored with whatever you want to call them: survival skills, Native American skills, primitive living skills, self-reliant skills. From a very young age. That picture on the left, that's of me when my parents took me to a Cherokee reservation down in Tennessee when I was a kid, and I've just always been enamored by the Native American culture. But the picture on me on the right there that's me in Scouts, and that's really where I fell in love with the outdoors, was as a young Scout. I wrote my first survival manual and taught my first survival course when I was in college. I was 21 years old. You can see a picture of me. I was so proud of this self-published little spiral bind survival manual I had made at Kinko's that I changed into my Boy Scout outfit, and I took it home and I had my mom take a picture of me because I was so proud of it. And that's a picture of me just a few weeks later teaching my first survival course, and that's been almost 2 decades ago, believe it or not. So the next 15 years, 15 to 20 years really, I taught courses and trained in the skills that I knew, at hundreds of hours learning the skills I wanted to teach, thousands of hours if I'm being honest. And over the course of that time, I wrote a lot. I wrote a lot of books. These you could stake your life on. Now that first book, if you bought that 20 years ago, I'm going to give you your money back so that I can burn it so that it never surfaces. But I've written a lot of survival manuals, over 14 altogether, and over the course of that time, a lot of people got in touch with me about survival commentary, about survival stories. Of course, I was happy to oblige with all that. I've hosted 2 shows on the Weather Channel, one of which is coming out on August 20th, just here in a week and a half or so, called SOS How to Survive. If you have time, you should watch that, because we study past survival, real life past survival scenarios where I do a forensic analysis with other experts on what happened in that situation and maybe what they could have done, should have done, and it's a huge learning opportunity. So it's all about the human spirit and it's all about learning. So it's a great show. But my real passion for survival is in teaching, and that's why I'm doing this for free today, is because I love teaching survival skills to people, and I love working with people. There's a couple of pictures of me teaching at my facility in Indiana. I got into this business because it was fun. I'm still in it 20 years later because I believe that the survival skills I teach can change lives. And I believe that with all of my heart. My life's passion is, like I said earlier, is flat out, it's just teaching survival skills. I've always said that whatever gets you the most, whatever makes you the most excited in life has something to do with your passion. And mine is certainly when I'm working with people and teaching them survival skills. So without further ado, let's get into the meat of our presentation today. I'm about to switch to the live view camera. Let's dive in. But before I do, there's 3 phases to preparedness in general. We're only going to focus on one today, and that's the middle one there, the bug out bag. There's obviously bugging in and bug out locations on the left. And then there's phase 3, which is knowledge-based skills. Knowledge is the most important survival tool you can possess. We're going to talk about knowledge a little bit at the end of the presentation, and I'm going to tell you about a program that I'm starting called Survival Skill of the Month Club, which is all about knowledge and all for people who crave knowledge. But today's agenda is really simple. I'm going to spend the next, what, Jake, 35, 40 minutes covering 12 things you didn't know you needed in your bug out bag. This is super interactive, live cam. And then I'm going to answer some questions. I'm going to do some Q&A, both questions that are submitted throughout the webinar and both questions that came in advance. We're trying to group these into kind of similar questions so that we can answer as much as possible for as many people as possible. And then I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about the importance of knowledge. So let's get to, I'm going to share live cam with you. I'm going to take my screen off. There we go. And Jake, I should be live cam now.
Good to go. All
right, good. Everybody should be seeing me. I'm dragging my camera big so that I can see me, so that I make sure that you can see everything. Let's start. 12 things you didn't know you needed in your bug out bag. Now, I know there are some of you guys out there and girls who are saying to yourself, Creek, you can't possibly tell me anything new that I need in my bug out bag. I have it all. Well, my goal today is to do just that, to share with you at least one tip or trick that you haven't heard of. Now, it's impossible to share all 12 and just have brand new information, but I'm hoping to at least share one thing that you haven't heard of. And I'm hoping that first thing is my first one. Now, you guys know that I can't, I am incapable of teaching a survival skill or course without talking about tampons. I know it's impossible. I can't do it. It's like in my ingrained in who I am. So my first thing you didn't know you needed in your bug out bag has to do with tampons. Now, I went to a health food store. It's called Earth Fare in my area. You have to go to a health food store to get these because the ones you get at like the regular grocery stores have meltable materials like polypropylene and nylon and stuff in them. These little suckers that you get at like the health food store, they're 100% cotton. Okay, nothing going to melt in there. 100% cotton. Can we see that? All right. Looks like a 50 cal bullet here, and it's really compact. In fact, I'm going to compare this tampon right here to just a regular cotton ball. It's actually smaller than I don't even know that I can compact this cotton ball to the size of this tampon. It's smaller. It's in a waterproof sheath. Don't worry, guys. It gets better. It's not just about this tampon. It's what I do to this tampon. Okay. So here it is compared to a cotton ball. I know some of you have pet balls in your bug out bags, petroleum jelly soaked cotton balls, right? One of the best fire starters on earth. Well, I'm going to take this whole concept to another level. Okay. Now, when I take this tampon out of its wrapper and unfurl it and fray it up, I want you to see what this looks like. That's this tampon right here compared to a regular cotton ball. So we've got something that starts out much smaller and is waterproof and ends up to be about 15 times bigger than a regular cotton ball. So it goes from this to this. Okay, we all know cotton's flammable, right? Very flammable. I could hit this with a match or a ferro rod and it'd go right up. Now watch this. This is where it starts to get interesting. I'm going to take, I've got some stormproof matches. You could use any strike-on surface match. I'm using this stormproof match here. Okay, get one out of here so you can see it. See that? Beautiful little baby. All right, cool. Jacob's saying it's showing up good. All right, so I'm going to take this stormproof match. I'm going to take my knife. Even got my logo on it. Thanks to Michael Jackson. Appreciate you, brother. Not the Michael Jackson you're thinking, a different Michael Jackson. Friend of mine who's a wilderness medic. I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to sharpen the end of this match to a little point. Real sharp. You know what? Come on. I need a bigger knife to sharpen this match. I got to get a bigger knife out of here. Let's sharpen this with a big knife, all right? Let's sharpen this with a big knife. Now, this leads me to my first home decorating tip. Okay, I'm going to pan my thing up. See my whiskey knives box up there? The whiskey knives box, guys, makes an awesome shelf for anything. I've got an old Boy Scout manual up there. I've got a horn up there. But you slide the lid up and you can hide things in it. I know. It's a multifaceted webinar today. All right, let's readjust this. All right, there we go. I like all my little knickknacks over here. There we go. I like all my little knickknacks. It's all my favorite things that I pick up along the way in life, in the woods, places, and I put them on that little shelf. Okay, so I'm going to use a real knife here and sharpen my matchstick. There we go, perfect. Now I'm going to take and I'm going to open this tampon. Okay, trying to do this high so everybody can see here. Let me bend this down just a little bit. Just a little bit. There we go. Perfect. All right. I'm going to take this tampon out of its little waterproof sleeve. You guys are like, what in the world did I sign up for today? I'm going to take the string of this tampon, I'm going to wind it open a little bit there, kind of flare out the top. Now watch this. I'm going to take this match with the sharp tip and I'm going to shove it down in the middle of this tampon. Try not to shove it into the palm of your hand. All right. Check that out. So now I've got a match shoved into a tampon. Okay, don't worry, it gets better. Okay, now I can't do this live, but I've prepped some in advance. Now I'm going to dip that, make me some candles, kind of. Okay, except they're more like tampon fire rockets. Now, if you get your wax really hot, okay, if you get your wax really hot, you can dip these tampons in there, and that paraffin wax will saturate into that tampon, will totally saturate that tampon, and that extends the flame of these. It's like ridiculous how long these burn. In fact, I'm going to share my screen with you really quick so that I can play, excuse me, a video of one burning. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Should have a screen share there. Okay, good. Now we're on, should be on a video page.
Yep.
Loading up right now. Okay, so
it may be kind of choppy.
Yeah, this video is going to be a little bit choppy. In fact, I'm going to take away the webcam for a minute to clear up some room here. There we go. And I'm going to play this video for you while I talk about what I'm doing. It plays really weird and slow in the webinar, so just bear with me.
You get the idea.
But yeah, you're going to totally get the idea. Okay, there it is, dipped in wax. Okay, I've gone ahead and torn this up a little bit because you've really got to expose all of these paraffin saturated fibers. Okay, look at all that deliciousness right there. It's just all soaked in wax and paraffin. I've gone ahead and chipped off the wax on the match to expose that match head. And when I strike it, I thought it didn't strike at first, but it actually did. And it just immediately lights. And guys, I kid you not, I kid you not, that this tampon fire candle or tampon fire rocket, whatever you want to call it, burned for 30 minutes until I had to put it out. It is ridiculous. Now, an average pet ball is going to burn for about, all right, should be back to live webcam. Okay, an average pet ball is going to burn about 5 to 10 minutes max. But one of these tampon fire rockets, these things burn in between 20 and 30 minutes. I can put those, I got them nice packed. I even put a couple here, I'll show you. I even put a couple that aren't covered in wax inside of there. Just on a little Altoids tin. You can put them in anything, a Ziploc bag. I've got a little striking strip right here. Guys, if you can't start a fire in any condition in the world with one of these, you can't start a fire. You are not going to be able to start a fire if you can't start a fire with one of these that burns strong for 30 minutes. It's ridiculous, okay? There's your number one. All right, so hopefully that was the first thing that no one had heard of. So basically, even if that's the only thing you learned today, you learned something, right? Okay, so number two Let's go number 2. I'm going to share my slides with you again. I'll stay on split screen. I'm going to share my slides with you, and I'm going to go to the next screen, which, Jake, should be a commercial water spigot.
I've got it. Yep.
Okay, perfect. You seeing me split screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So some of you don't know what you're looking at. What you're looking at right there is a commercial water spigot on the side of commercial buildings. Okay. Now, guys, some of you take a good look at that because I'm about ready to take it away. Okay, looks kind of funky. See that piece on the right-hand side where it looks like a little square thing in the middle? Okay, that's where our next piece comes in here. Okay, gonna go to live webcam again. Now, some of you have heard of this product. This isn't anything new in the survival industry, but I know that some of you have not as well. This right here is two of the same. One's black and one's just silver. This is called a Silcock key. S-I-L-L-C-O-C-K. And this wrench fits that little square piece in that commercial spigot to turn that spigot on. Okay. Now, why is this valuable in a bug out bag or a bug out vehicle? Well, because if you're needing a refill of water and you live anywhere near a city, there's going to be thousands probably of those commercial spigots. Now, I'm not suggesting that you go and steal water, but I don't think I'm a business owner, and I don't think there's a business in the world that during a natural disaster, emergency, or crisis would care if you filled up your canteen. But if you feel guilty about it, then write their address down and mail them a check afterwards. That's what I have to say about that. But even if the water is down, there still may be a little bit of pressure in those pipes, some residual gravity drain from those pipes, and it could be an excellent source for totally drinkable, totally good to drink drinking water. And you cannot access it without one of these Silcock keys. Okay, this is available for, I think, about $5 at any big box home improvement store, hardware store. So that's number 2. Okay, number 3. Okay, number 3. Now, I recently filmed an episode of SOS How to Survive at a first responders training facility in Georgia. It was incredible. It was like a recreated disaster city. It was awesome. And as a part of one of those episodes, I had to bust through windows, pry open windows, kind of a bug out scenario, flood scenario. I had to break through a roof. I had to do all kinds of things in and out of the house that somebody might actually have to do if they were in a hurricane scenario or high water scenario or trapped in your home type scenario. Guys, it was such an eye-opener to me. I came home and I put something in my bug out bag that it weighs a little bit, but I'll never take it out, and it's this right here. It's this 12, 15, 18-inch crowbar. Okay, I can't even tell you how useful a crowbar like this is a Stanley brand. I picked it up at just a hardware store. I think it was $8 or something. I can't even tell you how useful something like this is in an urban disaster environment for prying, digging, hacking, chopping through plywood, busting through things, clawing, I mean, crawling out of a crawl space. I mean, it's just the applications. I am not reinventing the wheel with a crowbar. I realize that, but I did not have one in my bug out bag, and I know some of you don't either. And if you are in an urban environment, you need a crowbar in your bug out bag. I know you guys, a big question you guys have for me today is, how do I cut weight in your bug out bag? And now you're telling me, Creek, to add something that weighs a pound in my bug out bag. I don't have the weight. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about cutting weight later. There are things that you have in your bug out bag that you just don't need in your bug out bag, but you need this in your bug out bag. Okay? A crowbar. There are smaller ones, but man, you just can't get the leverage with something like this. A little one like this is great. The Pocket Box subscribers that were in the blackout box got this one right here. This is a great little crowbar, but you can't get the leverage with this that you can get with something just a little bit bigger. Like, I can't bust through a roof with this crowbar. I can bust through a roof with that other crowbar. Okay? Number 3. Okay. Number 3 came to me from a friend many years ago, Dave. Dave, if you're watching, I appreciate you, brother. He did several tours it was either, I know it was in the Middle East, it might have been Iraq, and he was just in the guts of it all, man. And he, you know, he had a bug out bag of all bug out bags. And he came to me to one of my clinics one day and he says, Creek, you need this in your bug out bag. When I first saw this, I didn't even know what this was. Okay. He said he used this all the time. This is a universal hose adapter. Okay. This is a rubber gasket that you can push up on a faucet, a sink, an outside hose, spigot, whatever, no matter what size it is, you can fit this thing on there. It's stretchy. And then you've got a hose on the other side. Now, they probably were filling their Humvees up with big water tanks. You know, they probably weren't filling up a canteen, so they probably had a hose with them. I don't want to carry a hose in my bug out bag, but it got me thinking. And so I went out and I bought one of these. Now, guys, my mom, my whole life, washed her hair in the kitchen sink. It was the weirdest, it's the weirdest thing. I'm sorry if some of you wash your hair in the kitchen sink. It's the weirdest thing. I remember like eating my bowl of cereal in the morning and mom's washing her hair in the kitchen sink. I'm like, Mom, why don't you take a shower like a normal human being and not wash your hair in the kitchen sink? So this is what I'm getting my mom for Christmas. This is a universal gasket, faucet gasket that fits up on any sink. Have you ever tried to fill your canteen up in any sink? It is, unless you have a bladder of, so you still can't even get a bladder full. But you can't get, if you've got a big, I don't think I've got a big canteen here. If you've got a big canteen, you cannot get it filled up in like a rest stop or a McDonald's or a state park bathroom. It's impossible. And this, having something like this universal gasket that you can push up onto a faucet, okay, that you can push up onto a faucet, makes filling up your canteen, so it gives you so many more options for doing that in a bug out scenario. Now, you may not need this shower hose, this sprayer hose. You can cut this off if you want. It's kind of cool for an improvised shower option. And if you like to camp, if you bring a 2-liter bottle, it fits on this gasket. So you could theoretically hang this 2-liter bottle up in a tree or have somebody hold it and squeeze on it and take a quickie improvised kind of spit shower with 2 liters of water using this. This is like an improvised little camp shower. This was $5 on Amazon. Universal faucet adapter is, I think it was what it was called. But it gives you options for filling up a canteen in situations where you might not be able to do it otherwise. So that, I think, is number 3. Hopefully you guys you found this useful. And this, guys, that comes originally from somebody who's just like been in the guts of it all and uses their bug out bag every day to save their life. So, all right, cool. Let's go on to, okay, so many of you are asking me in your pre-questions and in questions that I'm seeing just go like this. It's like a matrix over here in these questions. It's like, you know, I gotta be Keanu Reeves to read these questions. But so many people are asking me, how do I can't get all my stuff in my bug out bag. It's just like overflowing with stuff. Well, mine was too, and sometimes still is, depending on the day. But one big frustration that I had was this guy right here. If you've ever tried to sleep without a ground pad, you know, especially in cold weather, you know that it can be absolutely miserable, right? It's absolutely miserable. That's why I always recommend, as a part of your shelter kit, to have a ground pad. This is a reflective on one side, foam on the other. But dang, that sucker, I mean, it's like ridiculous. It's ridiculous, you know? I mean, it takes up so much space in your pack, out of your pack. Where do you put something like this? Now, some of you guys are going, Creek, buy the blow-up one. Get the blow-up one. It compacts down smaller than a football. Yeah, but it's like $100 and something, you know? And some people have families that are 5, 6 people, you know? You can't spend $700 on blow-up ground pads. It's crazy. But you need a ground pad if you're in the 80% of the country that is susceptible to cold weather disasters. So I took this out of my bug out bag and I put this in my bug out bag. Now some of you are wondering, what is that? What is that? Look, Creek, that looks like bubble wrap. Well, it kind of is bubble wrap. Except this, guys, it came like this. Okay, see this? It came like this. This is actually insulation that has like some ridiculous rating for how thin it is. It's like ridiculous what the rating is for this. It's an insulation reflective barrier to line attics and garages. Some of you in the construction industry have probably used this before. It is like a really thick, durable bubble wrap that is reflective on both sides. Okay? Now, it's not as comfortable and doesn't give you quite the barrier that a nice foam pad does. But guys, I cut my foam pad weight easily in half, maybe in thirds, and the size I cut easily in thirds by doing this. And I could probably roll this down a little tighter if I rolled it long way. This stuff cost me 20 bucks. This big roll cost me 20 bucks. It's 25 feet long and 2 feet wide. So it's enough for 5-foot sections. You could do a whole family of 5, and a little kid doesn't even need a 5-footer. You know, some little kids' torso size are, you know, a couple feet. You know, even teenagers, some of them. And so you can outfit a whole family in bug-out sleeping pads with one $20 roll of that stuff, and it's reflective on both sides. It's going to reflect the cold ground away from you. It's going to reflect your body heat toward you, and you get an air barrier in between. You don't want to be doing jumping jacks on this or you'll punch all the air out, but if you be a little bit careful with it, it's a really great option for a ground pad. Okay, it's a way to cut weight. It's a way to cut bulk from your bug out bag. And hey man, I'm a working man just like everybody else. You know, we're all budget conscious, and this stuff right here could be a huge bonus. The inflatable ones I like for camping and stuff like that, but I tell you, they're expensive, and if you get a hole in it, if you don't patch it, it's absolutely worthless. Okay, so hopefully that was something you found interesting. What's our time here? Let's see what our time is. 1:34. I'm going to try to keep it on schedule. I'm going to try to keep you for about another half hour. I'll do my best. Okay, I gotta book it. I know you guys got lives too. The next one is 3-in-1. I asked my buddy, I mentioned Michael Jackson earlier. He's a wilderness medic, but he's a medic in, he's like a ridiculously decorated medic in the military. He's served over there, done our country more service than you could possibly imagine. But I asked him a question one day. I said, you know, as I was reevaluating my personal first aid kit in my bug out bag, I said, Michael, what are some things I need in my bug out bag for first aid? He told me 4 things. 3 of which I didn't have in my bug out bag, and I'm a little ashamed to admit that. I did have a tourniquet, which is what he said. The funny thing is Band-Aids didn't even hardly come up in the conversation. You know, it's kind of like if a Band-Aid can fix it, it's really not that big of a deal. Does that make sense? If a Band-Aid can fix it, then it's really not that big of an injury. You need things in your bug out bags that deal with your big injuries. Okay, one of those is a tourniquet. One other one that he told me is a SAM splint. Now, some of you in a Pocket Box subscribers did get a product very similar to this several months ago. This is a splint that can splint every bone in the human body. Every bone in the human body. You can cut pieces and fit them over your nose. You could cut a finger splint. You could splint your hip, your leg, your neck. I mean, you can splint your head with this thing. You know, I mean, it's bendable. It's lightweight. It's like foam wrapped aluminum. You can roll it up. It fits into a pocket or down into a corner of your bug out bag. This is your splint, guys. Right here is your splint. Okay. What do you tie your splint on? Well, another thing he mentioned was some cloth cravats. Okay. This is kind of like a schmog. If you've got schmogs in your bug out bag, you've got one of these. This is just a cotton bandage, basically. You could use this for all kinds of things, but you could tie your splints on with this. You can use this as a compression bandage, as an arm sling. You can use this as an arm sling. You could use this as actual wound dressing. It's not sterile, but in a pinch you could use this as wound dressing. It's a multifunctional piece, super lightweight. This weighs like 2 feathers. And this was a piece he said, Creek, this needs to be in your bug out bag. Okay, so throw in some cravats, triangular bandages. They are super cheap, first of all. And the last thing in that I did not have in my kit, and that was an Ace Wrap elastic bandage. Now this is designed for sports injuries. Typically, you see kind of these dealing with sports injuries. This is an elastic bandage that provides, see me pulling it, that provides compression, okay? Once you put some gauze on an open, like a major bleeding wound, puncture wound, something like that, this will help apply the pressure over a course of time for your body to do its natural clotting process. You have to put pressure. That's why when you put bandages on, you put pressure on those wounds. You have to put pressure on those wounds, and this helps to do that. But this also helps in sprained knees, sprained ankles. It could help to secure an arm that's in a sling. It could help to secure a splint. Lots of different multifunctions for an Ace Wrap. I basically threw away my other first aid kit, and I have 4 items with some gauze pads and something I'm going to talk about a little bit later in my bug out bag. I was able to shave weight, and I feel like I've got a better first aid kit. Make sense? Okay, buzzing right along. Guys, I went on a hike several years ago, and some of you have heard this story. I went on a hike several years ago. I was like 2 days in on this hike, okay? And I got some kind of little thorn jammed up under my eyelid, okay? And I could not get it out. Primarily because every time I tried to touch it, it would shove itself into my eye farther, okay? And I could not get that sucker out because I could not see it. It was before smartphones. I couldn't take a picture of it, and I did not have what? I did not have a mirror on that hike, and I did not have a mirror in my bug out bag for a long time, but I do now. Obviously, you could signal with a mirror, and there have been recorded scenarios where people have needed to signal in a bug out situation for rescue. There's one guy who was swept out on his roof of his house up in Sandy, I think, and he was out like 2 miles in the ocean waving his hands for a helicopter, where a signal mirror would have made a huge help. Now, but I'm talking for first aid primarily. Now, with this is a mechanic's mirror. Okay, designed to work on automobiles. And here's a little tiny one which I find not effective because it's just not big enough to see. This one is about business card size, and I found it to be a really nice size. Okay, I like the idea of being able to kind of position this mirror so that I can look around the back of my head if I need to. I can look in my ear. I can look in my eye. I can look underneath of me on my back. There's a lot of, I can look around a corner, through a window if I want to, you know, if you're like, I don't know, urban, tactical feeling, you know, you feel threatened, you want to kind of see around a corner. The option of this lightweight handle gives you some unique flexibility with this mirror, especially if you're rolling solo. But I include mine primarily for first aid, and it's tick season, right? This is great for tick checks. You know, if you're checking yourself out for ticks, you know, everybody's freaked out about ticks, and for right reason. They're carrying some pretty nasty diseases right now that no one wants to get. But throw a mirror in your bug out bag, and if you can spare the extra few ounces, get a little handle on there. Make it, go to a mechanic's mirror. You know, gives you a little bit more flexibility and options. Now, speaking of tick checks, okay, a friend of mine, Hank, who is the blacksmith for all of my whiskey knives, who owns Reptile Tool Works, he's the one who brought this next product to my attention. Can you see that? If you can't see, it's a little blurry. Yeah, it's called tea tree oil. It's 100% pure natural tea tree oil, and it smells like, when you open it up in here, tell me when you can smell it. And you're like a few feet away from you. Smell it already?
Oh, yeah.
No, I mean, yeah. It's some good smelling stuff, man. Now, tea tree oil, for those of you who have a tick phobia, or are in areas where Lyme disease is a big issue, and some of these new things coming out that ticks are carrying, it's not ideal to go pinching when a tick is embedded in your skin, to go pinching on that tick with tweezers, because, you know, when you squeeze down on that thing, even with your fingers or tweezers, you're just gushing all of its mouth juices and guts into that open wound. And so if you put a drop of tea tree oil on a tick, it will back out. I'm just looking at my hands. Look at my hands. Now listen, before you take a survival course from somebody, you ask to look at their hands. They better look like that right there. If they don't look like that right there, you need to run the other direction. But if you put a drop of tea tree oil on a tick, it will back itself out and try to get away from that oil. It's some strong, potent stuff. And it's just a better way of backing a tick out in the day and age of ticks carrying some nasty diseases. So this isn't for everybody. I'm not personally freaked out about ticks too much. I grew up with ticks all over me every weekend. But some people, especially now, are really freaked out about ticks. And this right here is for you. So hopefully this applies to someone. Okay. Now my next one is a way to cut weight in your bug out bag and bulk is get rid of all the clothing. Guys, we're talking about 3 days here. You have to put a time limit on your bug out bag. If you don't, you will drive yourself crazy. You'll be thinking, man, 3 days, but I think if I put a few more things in there, I can get away with 2 weeks. And then when you're at 2 weeks, you're like, man, if I just put 4 more boxes of ammo in there, I can get away with a month, Stick to 3 days. That's the number one mistake that I find with people, just too much weight, too much bulk in their bug out bag, is they go beyond the 3-day mark. Stick to 3 days, okay? And here's a way to do that. Cut all of your clothing, all of your extra clothing besides what you've got on your back. Just leave appropriately dressed for the weather that you're entering. Cut all of that clothing except 2 of these. What is this? Any guesses? Anyone got any guesses, Jacob? No, it's not a football. No, it's not a pillow. What do we got?
Skivvy roll. There we go.
Did somebody say skivvy roll?
Somebody said skivvy roll. Old Daniel. Daniel said skivvy roll.
Freaking Daniel. There's always that guy. There's always that guy. The Daniel was probably in the military or has read my blog post before. So this is an old military trick called a skivvy roll. And this is a pair of clean socks, a pair of clean underwear, and a clean undershirt, all in this one little tiny pack. Now watch this. I'm going to, deconstruct this skivvy roll, or reverse engineer. How about that? I'm going to reverse engineer this skivvy roll so that you can see how it's put together. Okay? This is the open end of one sock. Okay? See that? Making sense? This is the open end of the other sock. Okay? And those are rolled up in the t-shirt. Okay? See this? And there's the underwear. Okay? And it all starts at the top of the t-shirt, like that right there. The socks are overlapping. And then this rolls down. Okay, cool. You see that making sense? It's going to be messier than when I started, but this rolls down. And then these tube socks, these are nice wool socks. Carry wool socks. I prefer smart wool. And then some of you are saying, okay, Creek, I get it. You don't need to do this. Well, it's kind of an OCD thing. I kind of need to finish it for myself. Sucker. It's personal. Get in there. All right. There we got a really lumpy looking skivvy roll, but you get the concept. 2 of these in your bug out bag. Don't put any other clothing in there and call it a day. Now you guys will all be packing for a vacation like this too. That's how I pack for, well, I don't take a vacation, but that's how I pack my bug out bag at least, right? Okay, so there we go. Skivvy roll. You guys enjoying this so far? Give me some feedback. Anybody, tell me if you're enjoying this. Because if you're not enjoying this, I'm just gonna I'm gonna hover over the end button. I'm about to click in.
Yes.
I'm about to click in.
Yes.
We get somebody enjoying this. Is anybody getting? Are you getting something?
This is awesome. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Positive reinforcement is always good.
Okay, I'm taking it away from the end button. All right. So we're on skivvy roll. We did Silcock key. Wow, are we to the end? Don't worry. I saved the best for last. We're to our last one. Oh, real quick, we talked about a shower. I just wanted to throw this out. I didn't mention this in the last webinar. My buddy Jim Connolly gave this to me about a year ago. This was kind of a cool product. It's like a bath in a bag. It's from the company Medline. It's called Ready Bath Select. It's like a shower in a bag. It has eight different wipes, and it even gives you the numbers here, like neck first, armpit second, groin fourth, Knees fifth and sixth, and you use 7-8 on lower back and your backside. So it even for if you're really freaked out and you can't even remember what to wipe off first, that even helps. So I thought that was kind of cool. You know, it's like, and it has antibacterial. It's like antibacterial stuff. It's mainly for hospitals. Some of you nurses out there and doctors out there going, I know what that is, but a lot of people I didn't. I just thought I'd mention that. That's not a part. That's a bonus. That's your 13 bonus. Okay, guys, the last one. About to blow some minds here. Not too long ago, I did a bug out bag course where we packed up our bug out bags and we hit the road and we hiked like 15 miles. And by mile 2, I'd say 80% of my students in that course had blisters on their feet. Some of them like the size of a quarter. Okay, nasty looking blisters. And that is going to be a reality for a huge portion of people that just all of a sudden, who don't hike on a regular basis with their pack, throw on their boots in the middle of a natural disaster, throw on their pack and hit the road, or get out of their car and start hiking down the road. You're going to tear your feet up with blisters. Now, some of the common methods for dealing with blisters are moleskin, Band-Aids, duct tape, and a variety of other blister-related marketed products. Those are all horrible. None of them work, especially in a disaster scenario where your feet are going to be swampy. You're going to have swamp foot. They're going to be sweating. You're going to be doing some major hiking, God knows where. And your feet could potentially be very wet or snowy. Or you couldn't be washing your feet for a couple of days and they're just getting swampy and nasty. Duct tape isn't going to stick to them after a few hours. Band-Aids certainly aren't. You know, I think they're cutting costs on Band-Aids by just reducing adhesive. And moleskin, it doesn't stick very long at all. So I put a blister kit in my bug out bag, and here's what it's made from. Okay, here's what I use. This little, some of the Pocket Box subscribers have one of these. It's a little waterproof bag. You can do a Ziploc bag if you wanted. I've got gauze that I could cut up into blister sizes, and I've got some rubber gloves just in case my hands are just nasty, filthy, and I got to touch a blister, which is already prone to infection. Now you guys are saying, big deal, Creek, that's real genius there. No, here's the genius part right here. Here it is. See that? I'm going to say it for you, and I'm going to spell it for those of you who are writing this down. It's called Leukotape. Leukotape. It's made in Germany. It's made, some of you who maybe are into marathon hiking, this is caught on in the big like marathon hiking community, but not so much in the survival community, which, hey man, if you're bugging out, you all of a sudden just entered the marathon hiking community. Leukotape, made in Germany, designed specifically for athletics and for very active athletes and skin. Guys, if you put a piece of gauze over a blister, you don't need all this. You can divvy this roll up into a much smaller roll. I don't know how much, this was not very much, a few dollars. Guys, this stuff is designed to stick to your skin and not come off until you demand it to come off. I have had Leukotape on my feet as a test for a couple of weeks, and I showered at least once. For a couple of weeks, showering every day, every other day, and it does not come off unless you tell it to come off. It bonds to your skin almost, I mean, until you tell it to come off. So if you have a blister, this will prevent blisters if you're getting a hot spot. A blister is caused by something, your sock or your boot, rubbing up against your skin, creating a hot spot, killing that skin, and then the area underneath that fills with pus, basically, fills with fluid, and to protect it and heal it. So if you're getting a hot spot, you can put a piece of Leukotape over that hot spot, and it will flat out, the sock or the boot will rub up against the Leukotape and not against your skin. Okay, and it will flat out prevent you from getting a blister. If you already get a blister, you take a piece of gauze, cut it to the shape of that blister, because you do not want to put Leukotape on your blister because it will peel it right off of there when you take it off. So you put it across the gauze, wrap it around. You can cut the edges of it to fold it or whatever. but the gauze will protect your blister. The Leukotape will be the friction barrier. And this right here, guys, your end-all, be-all bug-out blister kit. Okay? I hope you found that informative. Okay? So those are my 12 things you didn't know you needed in your bug-out bag. I hope those were insightful to some of you. I'm not saying go out and get all of those and put them in your bug-out bag. It's a brainstorming session. You know, I'm just giving you ideas that may spark other ideas. Okay? But I told you there are 3 parts to this. Now we're entering into phase 2, which is just a couple of minutes, and then phase 3, which is just another couple of minutes. I want to answer some Q&A. I want to do some questions. I want to deal with some questions before you guys hop off the line. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. We're going to do a mix of questions that Jacob is going to throw out to me, and also questions that we've categorized in advance that a lot of people are asking. Okay, so you know what? I'll do split screen here. I'll do split screen. Jacob, can we see my screen and the webinar?
Yes.
Okay, cool. We're going to go to our first question that a lot of people have. I have pets. Do I need to pack a bug-out bag for my pets? If so, what should be included? Absolutely. Almost all dogs can carry their own bug-out bag, little saddle bags for doggies. Cats are a different story. There's all kinds of pets. But we're going to stick to dogs and cats. 80% of America owns a dog or a cat as a pet. So absolutely, they need shelter. They're a little bit more covered in the shelter department than we are, obviously. We were given brains, they were given fur. Shelter, they need water just like we do. A collapsible food bowl is fine for water. They're lightweight canvas bowls that you can use for dogs. Double as a food bowl. Shelter, water, food. They need their dog food and their meds, just like humans do. So all of those items can be packed in their kit. But absolutely, the pets need a bug-out bag. Otherwise, you're leaving your pets at home. If you don't have a bug-out bag for your pet, you need a bug-out bag for your pet. How about let's just call it that? Anything resounding coming up, Jacob, that you're seeing?
I wouldn't normally say this, but I've had like 7 people ask, what are you drinking out of that red cup?
What am I drinking out of the cup? Okay. What am I drinking out of the cup, huh? All right, so we'll go back to, so you guys want to know what I'm drinking out of my cup. That's funny. Okay, so you guys heard of Arnold Palmer, right, where it's half iced tea, half lemonade? This is kind of like that. This is half iced tea, half mayapple-ade. Okay, mayapple is a wild plant. If you're familiar with the woods, you'll probably recognize it. It looks like a little umbrella. It grows in big colonies. It's also called the mandrake. It grows in big colonies of little umbrella plants. My brother and I always used to call them like little troll trees, little like gnome trees or something. But they produce a fruit that ripens in the fall right about now. The whole plant's poisonous. Okay, the leaves, the stem, the root, the seeds of the fruit, the bloom of the fruit, and even the green unripe fruit is poisonous. But the yellow ripe fruit tastes like a lemony tomato and is fantastic. And I like in the fall to mix up my iced tea by splitting it half and half with a mayapple-ade, which I make from ripe mayaples, and iced tea. So they're ripe at Willow Haven, so I've been gorging on mayaples the past couple of weeks, so that's what I'm drinking. What else?
So I've had several questions also in varying tones, and I can tell by the numerous exclamation points and question marks.
Okay.
Somebody said it best. Non-con, where is it?
Oh, okay. So non-con pack, my book non-con pack. I'll just briefly mention it. So how I said, so some of you are very frustrated about me not coming out with a non-con pack yet. Well, it's going to be out this year. I've made it my life's mission to put non-con pack out this year. It's an extension of a bug-out bag. A bug-out bag is designed for 3 days. The non-con pack answers the question for all of you people who want to go there in your head. What if I have to leave my house and I'm never coming home? What do I put on my back then? That's what the non-con pack is. It's called non-con because it's non-consumables, meaning nothing in there you consume. A bug out bag is full of consumables, right? It's full of things that you kind of eat or drink or use over the course of 3 days. A non-compact is on the opposite end of the spectrum. It's designed to get consumables, to get all of those other things. So that's a whole other story for another day, but don't hold it to me for sure, but this year, definitely. This book's written. We're finalizing a few photos and layout, so it's like in production and editing and production, so it's coming, guys. I promise. That's been a beast to do. That's been a bear. Let's go to a question that we've gotten a bunch of in advance. Was surprised at how many people sent in this question, both for the last one and this one. I have diabetes and need to keep my insulin cold. It varied types of insulin. I guess there are different types of insulin for different types of diabetes and conditions, but any ideas about how to do this in a bug out scenario? Now, I bring this question up because I don't know the answer to that, but someone watching does. And in the last webinar, which had hundreds and hundreds of people watching, I said, I know there are doctors, I know there are diabetics, I know there are people who have this issue and know the answer to this question. Send me the solution to this question so that I can share it with the group. I got so many responses to that. I haven't been able to compile it yet. It's only been a couple days. But I'm going to ask you guys the same question. Send me the solution to this question if you know it, you doctors, you nurses, you diabetics. Send me the answer to this question so that I can compile this and send it out to the group. And I will get you, who are asking me this question, I will get you that answer, okay, through our incredible network of people who are so much more knowledgeable about other things than I am. So, any other question that's like that people are sending in that's popping up here? I know we're getting strategy for organizing my bag. We got a ton of those. I know we're getting my pack is too heavy. How do I trim the weight? We get a ton of those. I am going to, okay, I thought I was sharing screen there. I wasn't sharing screen, was I? Okay, but I am now. We got, you see my question on the screen there, Jake? Okay, we're good. So by far, one of the most popular questions I got was, my pack is too heavy, how do I trim the weight? I told you a little bit earlier, a bug out bag is for 3 days. If you keep it at 3 days, it naturally trims itself. Another strategy is take out anything and everything related to food prep. If it's pots, pans, a stove, fancy utensils, take it all out. You only need, I'll share my screen really quickly to show you this one thing right here. For food prep, you only need this stainless steel mug. This is a GSI Glacier, it's called a Glacier mug. There's all types of different people selling them. It's like $5, $6. It's stainless steel. It fits on the bottom of Nalgene's and clean canteens. Man, you can fix any bug out meal that you want to fix with this guy right here, okay? So cut all of your food prep stuff, pack just granola bars and maybe a couple packets of oatmeal and call it a day. You don't need that much food for 3 days. Throw some Snickers bars in there or whatever fits your diet and your needs. But those two pieces are my best suggestion for cutting pack weight. Now, in my series, the ABCs of BOBs that we're going to start here in a few weeks, it's free. It's totally free. I'll send everybody who is registered for this webinar an invitation to attend that series. I'm going to be going through the bare bones of what you need in a bug out bag. I'm going to show you everything, every piece that you have to have in your bug out bag and nothing you don't. And anything on top of that is extra. Guys, my best answer to how to trim the weight in your bug out bag is this right here, okay? It's knowledge. That's the best answer to that question. The more you know, the less you have to carry and the less you're dependent on gear. Don't get me wrong, gear is important. I realize that. But knowledge is your most important survival tool. If you guys would, if you believe that knowledge is your most important survival tool, just type it right now. Yes, Creek, I agree with you in that questions box. Tell me, confirm to me that you know that knowledge is your most important survival tool. Tell me, Jake, what are they saying?
Agreed. Thumbs up. Yes, yes, yes. Totally agree. Yes.
Any amens in there, man? Any
I haven't
amens?
seen one yet.
Amen, brother. Knowledge is your most important survival tool. Guys, especially in a bug out scenario, nothing takes its place. No one can take it from you. It's always with you, even if you're caught off guard without your bug out bag. It's less expensive than gear. And here's the kicker, which is what I love. It's fun to acquire. Who doesn't love learning survival skills? But as many of you know, I certainly do. I spent 20 years obtaining knowledge and still continue to do so. But it's very time consuming. It's very time consuming unless, of course, you have a good mentor, right? Unless you learn from someone who knows what they're teaching you. And that's where I come in. I told you in the beginning that my mission in life is to teach as many survival skills to as many people as possible, and that includes you. I'm not going to make any ifs, ands, or buts about it. I want to be your survival skills mentor. Really simply, I want to help you save time, save money, and energy by learning from me, who has spent thousands of hours in the field training. Thousands. You could say decades, if you wanted, of years in the field training. So I want to introduce you today really quickly. Survival Skill of the Month Club. And guys, this is for those who crave knowledge. This is a new program I'm starting that is completely all about teaching survival skills on an entirely different level, in entirely different detail than I've ever done before. You know, every month with Survival Skill of the Month Club, I'm going to send you a survival skill sheet. I say sheet, but like the first one that starts in September, the first skill sheet is actually 6 pages, detailing one specific survival skill in unprecedented detail, with never seen before macro photography and meticulously written descriptive text and instructions by myself, of course. Month by month, you will be building a library of skills that I am going to consider one of my greatest life's work. You know, there's different phases in someone's career. I got into this business because I just loved it. You know, it was just super fun. I was excited about it for a long time. And with this program, I feel like I've gotten my second wind and second love for survival, because I'm taking it to a new level in a new way. And you guys are saying, I know some of you are asking this question right now, Creek, I've got so many of your other books, why don't you just write a book so I can get all these skills at once? Well, I would, but if I were to write a book in the kind of detail that I'm writing these skill sheets every month, it would take me 25 years to write it. That's how much knowledge is in these monthly skill sheets. It would take me 25 years to write it. Guys, for some of these that I've already got in the bag for what starts in September, I have spent weeks, if not months, studying, recording, traveling, photographing, editing, laying out, and making sure that everything is right so that anybody who wants to know the skill can learn it. What am I teaching? Well, I'm teaching a combination of primitive skills and modern skills. Okay, I love primitive skills, but hey, I love modern skills too, so I'm mixing it up a little bit. It goes in 13 different categories: shelter, water, fire, tools, containers, foraging, hunting, trapping, fishing, first aid and hygiene, bindings and cordage, campcraft, and cooking. Everything I teach will fall loosely into one of those categories. And now somebody's like, Creek, how much are you going to get me for? Where's the kicker? Well, the kicker, if you're sitting down here, when I say I want to teach as many people as possible survival skills, I know that I have to do that at a price that everybody can afford. You know, I'm on a budget just like everybody else. So I thought, you know what? How about the price of a couple cups of coffee a month? You know, how about that price? Is the most detailed survival information that you've ever put in your hands worth a couple cups of coffee a month? I think so. It's $6.99 a month. That includes that 3-ring binder that you saw to store them all in, and it includes the monthly survival skill sheets every month that ship on the 7th, and there's no contract. I hate contracts. I even hate the contract with my phone. So I'm never going to have a contract with anything that I do. No one wants to sign a contract. So you can cancel at any time for any reason if you're not happy. $6.99 a month. That includes shipping and everything that comes with those skill sheets. It's like less than 25 cents a day, I think. It's the cheapest that I can possibly teach this stuff at the level that I need and want to teach it. So it comes with my promise. You know, you guys, a lot of you have ordered from me before. You know that if there's something wrong with something I send you, I give you your money back or replace it every single time. It's 100% risk-free. If you're unsatisfied, you can unsubscribe for any reason at any time by simply sending me an email, and I will refund your money. You know, if you're not happy, I don't want your money. It's real simple. If you're not learning survival skills, then I don't want your money. I'm not doing my job if you're not happy. Somebody's asking, what if I have questions about the skill 1 month? What am I supposed to do then? Can I get any help with that? Do I get help if I've got questions? Yes. It's a very unique aspect of this group, actually, of this program.
Somebody also asked a good question that could use some clarity.
Yeah.
Does that mean you're taking the skills challenges out of the Apocabox?
No, these are not necessarily skills. Good question. First of all, they're totally different. There's no overlap. No, we're leaving those in there. Those are super hands-on that typically have to do with products in the box. These guys they're on another level. They're on another level, presented in an entirely different way, and they're inspired by something that I'm just keenly interested in for some reason or another, whether it be a photograph, whether it be an artifact that I found, whether it be a documentary that I watched, whether it be something that I've seen in a museum. I go into learning and teaching these skills in way more detail than what is the Apocabox Skills Challenge, but presented in a totally different way. You're building the greatest work of survival skills in a book that, man, guys, I think is ever going to exist, because no one is going to spend the amount of time writing a book that I'm going to do doing this, because I spend more time writing one skill sheet than some survival authors have probably spent writing an entire manual. And the book doesn't exist. You know, publishers, I've published a lot of books, okay? And publishers, they put you on a timeline. You've got to get it done in a certain number of months. You can only have so many photographs. Sometimes it's limited to whether they're color. It can only be so many pages, and you have to cover a variety of topics. If I was under that type of constraints and limitation with this, there's no way I could publish a book the way I want to do this. That's why I'm doing it this way. So hopefully that helps with that answer. So do you get help? Yes, absolutely. So as a part of the subscription, you receive membership in what I call the VIP Survival Skill of the Month Club Mastermind group, and it's a Facebook group, a closed Facebook group for subscribers only. And in that group, I've dedicated a certain amount of time every month, however long that needs to be, to answering questions that are related to each month's survival skill sheet. If you have questions, I will get you an answer no matter what. I will figure out how to get you an answer. If I can't answer it, I'll pick up the phone and I'll call you and I'll walk you through it if I have to. But I will get you the answers you need, because this is about a legacy. This is about teaching people skills. This is about people really learning, and that's what I want to do with this. You know, I want to take this whole thing to another level. So in that group, you can also exchange ideas of what's working with other subscribers, because everybody's studying the same skill at the same time. And you can gain support and insights from myself and other subscribers, where we're all sharing successes and failures, because I've learned the most in my life from my failures, both personally and professionally. Some of you don't have any outdoors experience or access to property. Is that going to matter? No. No, it's not going to matter. Most of what you need to do can be done in a backyard. I'm not designing these skills in such a way where you've got to You know, you're going to be able to learn these no matter where you're at in the world and no matter what your resources are, and certainly no matter what your level of experience is. And that's the same way for those of you who have studied bushcraft and survival for a long time. Will you still learn something? A resounding yes. I've studied survival skills for 20 years, and I am learning survival skills by teaching the skills in this detail. I am learning survival skills. So really quickly, as I wrap up this webinar today, what you get when you subscribe to Survival Skill of the Month Club, you get the 3-ring binder that's shown. You get your first skill sheet, your survival skill sheet that goes with that month. You have access to the Survival Mastermind community. You get my mentorship through that community, which I take very seriously. I consider that, you know, a very serious part of my offer here. And obviously you have a 100% satisfaction guarantee. So I'm going to give you the link to subscribe to that before I kind of go back to live webinar here and just personally say thank you for your time today, and hoping that I've offered you some interesting tips for your bug out bag. The link to subscribe to that, it's $6.99, is survivalskillofthemonth.com/subscribe. There's a video on the main page, survivalskillofthemonth.com, if you wanted to watch it. It's a little bit more details, but all you gotta do is put in your shipping information, your billing information, and credit card information, and hit subscribe, and that's it. And then you're on the list for September 1st. Jacob's flagging me down here. He says we got some people. We already got some people subscribing. Who we got? I want to give some shout outs here.
Oh, it's running slow. Hold on. We've got Kathleen and Luke.
That's sweet. Where are they from?
Luke is North Carolina.
North Carolina, representing. Hey, I appreciate it, Luke. I appreciate you, man. Who else we got there?
We got Kathleen in South Carolina.
Okay, really?
Covering
Okay.
the Carolinas.
All right, cool. Well, good, man. So they're coming in then, right? The subscription page is working.
Another South Carolina.
Another South Carolina. What's up with South Carolina today?
We got Elizabeth in Colorado.
Hey, Colorado. You gotta love the great state of Colorado, man. You guys spend a lot of time outside, so I'm going to teach you some survival skills that hopefully you've never even heard of before. So I'm going to go back to live webinar real quick. I want to look you in the face and say thank you for your time today. Make sure that we're live. And here in just a second as we close out, I'm going to have DJ Jacob cue up a song for you because it's still stuck in my head. Guys, I hope that the 12 things I shared with you were super interesting. I hope that you took something away that somehow, if you're ever in a situation, changes your life in a bug out scenario. Feel free to share those tips and tricks with your friends. There's nothing proprietary here. I did it for free because I want to see as many people have takeaways as possible. So I'll keep you posted on the next series, the 5 or 6 part series, the ABCs of BOBs. That's going to be a really fun, informative, free series. I promise it's going to be free. And I will also follow up, if the record worked well, I will follow up with the recording of this webinar so that you can share it or watch it again if you missed anything. I will also follow up with a list of those 12 things so that you have them in an email. Sound good? Guys, I hope you have a fantastic weekend, an incredible Saturday. Go for it. And you're welcome for that. You are so welcome for that. All right, we're going to close out of here, guys. Appreciate you. Thanks for your business and patronage. And remember, it's not if, but when.